Welcome back to the garage. This is Token Teardown, the show where we jack crypto projects up on the lift, crawl underneath with a flashlight, and find out what's actually going on under the hood. No spin, no soft touch, no community armor. Today on the lift, MetalBlockchain, ticker METAL. This one came straight from you, viewer request, and honestly, XXX had never heard of it. That's not a diss. That's what makes this show interesting. When a community shows up and says, put it on the lift, we don't check the market cap first. We check the engine. XXX went deep, pulled the white paper, crawled through the GitHub repos at MetalBlockchain.org, checked the block explorer, cross-referenced the circulating supply across CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, the official explorer, and the project docs. And what he found made him stop and call me over. He said, the four sources can't agree on how much fuel is in the tank. CoinGecko says 510 million. CoinMarketCap says 157. The Explorer says 189. And the docs have two different allocation tables that don't match each other. We'll get to that. The car XXX handed me was a Brinks armored truck, not a race car, not a daily driver. Not something you take to Cars and Coffee on Sunday. This is a vehicle built to carry other people's money. Reinforced steel, bulletproof glass, GPS tracking, compliance logbook. It doesn't go fast. It doesn't look pretty. It was never meant to go fast or look pretty. It was built to go from Bank A to Bank B, carrying regulated cargo without losing a single dollar on the way, and to do it on roads that only licensed operators can drive on. That's MetalBlockchain, a compliance-first Layer 0 blockchain built specifically for banks, credit unions, and financial institutions that need to move money on-chain without breaking a single regulation. Not sexy, not a meme, not trying to win a drag race. Built to carry the heaviest cargo on the most regulated highways in finance. Before we drop this on the lift, yes, we will get to price predictions. But before we tell you what this thing might be worth, we need to figure out if the banks are actually loading it up. Smash the like, hit the follow, and share this with your cousin. You know the one, the Cardano guy. Worships Charles like he's reading blockchain scripture off stone tablets. Acts like ADA is one upgrade away from changing civilization. At this point, you're pretty sure he's got ADA tattooed on his right cheek and a framed poster of Charles over his bed like it's a motivational life coach. Share this with him. And hey, in the garage, we don't hate. We love his conviction. That man has held through more roadmap delays than most people hold a gym membership. But he needs to see what compliance-first infrastructure actually looks like when it's not a PowerPoint. All right. Lift it, lock it, lights on. Let's tear it down. But first, the question we ask every time. If this project disappeared tomorrow, would anyone outside the community notice? Honest answer, a few credit union pilot programs lose their sandbox. The broader crypto market doesn't blink. That's not a death sentence, but it sets the stakes. Let's see if the engine is worth more than the brand on the door. Before we touch the tech, who made it? MetalBlockchain was founded by Marshall Hayner and Glenn Marion. Hayner is the CEO, crypto OG, Stellar and Dogecoin connections in his history. Marion is CTO, both doxed, both active via Metallicus, the parent company. Metallicus is not just a crypto project. It's a corporate structure with an executive bench spanning product, engineering, payments, and compliance. This is not an anonymous Telegram group with a cartoon avatar. These are people with LinkedIn profiles and banking relationships. Builder or promoter, here's where it gets good. The MetalGo repo, that's their core Avalanche fork, shipped a public release December 10th, 2025. Pulse VM and Metal Wallet repos were updated March 4th and 6th, 2026. And when a severe node kill vulnerability was found on the C-chain, the team disclosed it publicly and shipped a hotfix within 24 hours. That's grown-up shop behavior. You find a crack in the engine block, you tell the customer, you fix it, and you document it. That builds trust. Now the honest flag. Bus factor is real. The institutional relationships, the code direction, the banking integrations, all flow through Metallicus. If that company stumbles, the whole shop loses its chief mechanic. And one more thing, no public audit reports surfaced in any reviewed materials. Certicay lists MetalBlockchain audits as not available. For a project selling itself as bank-grade infrastructure, that's a gap. The engine might be solid, but without third-party inspection papers, you're asking banks to trust your word. Pit crew takeaway, doxed founders with real shipping history, grown-up vulnerability disclosure, active repos, but single company dependency and no published security audit are real cracks in an otherwise clean shop. MetalBlockchain is a layer 0, its own engine, its own chassis, not built on top of someone else's chain. It is the chain. Forked from Avalanche's Snow protocols, that means it inherits the consensus mechanics that make Avalanche fast and final. But Metal customized the chassis for one specific purpose: regulated finance. The architecture runs 4 built-in chains. P-chain handles staking and validation. C-chain runs EVM-compatible smart contracts. Solidity devs can build here. X-chain handles asset transfers. And A-chain, that's the interesting one, runs on the Antelope protocol with WASM support, giving you C++ and TypeScript smart contracts for payments and DeFi. Now that's a lot of engine bays. 4 chains running simultaneously, each with different execution environments. For the coders, that's multi-VM architecture across Snow consensus with subnet extensibility. The docs claim 4,500 TPS per subnet, with theoretically unlimited scaling across subnets. And for everyone else, it's like an armored truck company that doesn't just have trucks. They have vans, sedans, and motorcycles too, all armored, all running on the same secure highway system, each vehicle built for a different cargo size. Now the key feature, private subnets. Any bank or credit union can spin up their own private blockchain on Metal, with their own rules, their own compliance requirements, their own access controls, all sharing the security of the primary network. A private highway lane inside a private highway system, inside the broader crypto ecosystem. Bitcoin VM was announced in February 2026. Too new to score on traction. A-chain. The project's own 2025 company report still described it as impending. Not scoring that as battle-tested either. Real Explorer stats. 98,471 total transactions. 168 validators. 17 assets. 128 million Metal staked. Average burn per transaction, 0.000014 Metal. Those numbers need context. This chain has been live since October 2022, 3.5 years, and the total lifetime transaction count is under 100,000. That's not a busy highway. That's a toll road with a handful of trucks making scheduled deliveries. But here's the nuance. Metal is built for institutional use. Banks don't do millions of public testnet transactions. They run private pilots behind closed doors. So the public explorer may not tell the whole story. It also may be telling exactly the story. Build, sheet, takeaway. Real L0 with real multi-chain architecture. Proven consensus. Private subnet capability that banks actually want. But public traction is nearly invisible after 3 years. The specs are unproven under real-world production load, and the developer footprint is thin. Serious infrastructure networks attract builders. Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche. They show developer gravity in public repos and grant programs. Metal's GitHub org shows moderate activity across a small number of repos, but no visible SDK adoption wave, no developer grant transparency, and no evidence of a growing external builder community. The shop is staffed, but nobody else is renting base space yet. Who is actually driving this truck? Credit unions and fintechs and stablecoin pilots. Metallica says their network gives access to 750 plus financial institutions. They run a stablecoin pilot program explicitly framed as a zero-risk sandbox for credit unions and banks. Named partners: Cornerstone League, Arizona Financial Credit Union, Go West, St. Cloud, One Nevada, and other credit union corridor moves. These are reported, meaning Metal announced them. The cleanest confirmed partnership where both sides posted publicly is Investify. Everything else is one-sided or pilot stage. There's also reported integrations with Fiserv CardPoint and Jack Henry VIP Silver Lake, which are major fintech infrastructure names. If those go deep, that's significant. But XXX couldn't find matching counterparty announcements. And here's a real regulatory catalyst. Metallicus announced FedNow request for payment certification on February 26, 2026. FedNow is the Federal Reserve's instant payment system. Getting certified there is not a press release. That's a compliance checkpoint with the actual Federal Reserve. That matters. The broader macro is helping too. The Genius Act was enacted in July 2025. And on March 5, 2026, U.S. bank regulators said tokenized securities should not face extra capital treatment just because they use blockchain. That is a serious tailwind for exactly the narrative Metal is trying to ride. Volume, and this is the hard truth. CoinGecko shows about 517,000 in 24-hour volume. 98% of that is on MetalX, their own exchange, in one trading pair against XMD, not Metal, XMD. That concentration means almost all visible liquidity lives inside their own ecosystem. If you need to exit a meaningful position, you're essentially trying to sell inside a single venue with $5,000 of depth on each side of the book. A whale hits that and bends price badly. No DAU, no MAU, no fee revenue dashboard, no token terminal listing. For a project selling itself as institutional-grade settlement infrastructure, the diagnostic panel is bare. And the exit liquidity test: if you tried to sell $250,000 worth of Metal today with $5,000 of depth on each side of the main book, you'd need to stage it across days or find OTC help. A $250,000 position in a project with a $64 million market cap, and you can't exit cleanly. That's not a market, fuel system. And this is where the dashboard starts flashing. Hard cap, 666,666,666 Metal. Fixed. Forever. Nobody mints more. That's clean. Deflationary. Transaction fees are burned permanently. More usage, less supply over time. The burn mechanism is real. It's just running on fumes right now because of low transaction volume. Staking rewards come from a dedicated 333 million pool, emitted on a sliding scale that gets scarcer over time. Founders vested 71 million over 12 months, completed years ago. Not a current pressure point. Metal Foundation holds about 153 million. There's also a 60 million MTL conversion allocation and 120 million MTL conversion bucket. Old legacy mechanics from the token's prior life. Now the problem, and this is what made XXX call me over. Circulating supply. Depending on who you ask, it's somewhere between 28% and 77% of max supply. CoinGecko says 510 million circulating. CoinMarketCap says 157 million. The official Explorer says 189 million, and the project's own allocation documents have two different tables that don't reconcile. That's not a rounding error. That's a due diligence emergency. If 4 different sources give you 4 different answers on how much fuel is in the tank, you cannot trust the fuel gauge. Period. And it gets worse. CMC shows 333 million total supply with no max listed, while official docs say 666 million. Even the basics don't align. Market cap ranges from 22 million to 71 million, depending on which circulating number you use. That's a 3x spread on the same asset. Institutional allocators cannot underwrite this. And the value capture question. This is the one institutional analysts care about most. Metal pays fees on the base chain and secures validation. That's real mechanical utility. But the broader Metallicus ecosystem, MetalX, MetalPay, Metal L2, XPR Network, WebAuth Wallet, Metal Dollar, they run on XMD pairs and XPR fee discounts. Here's the token velocity problem. If banks use the settlement infrastructure but transact in stablecoins and pay fees through XMD and get discounts through XPR, then Metal becomes plumbing. Necessary for the pipes to work, but the money flows through the plumbing without stopping. High velocity, low capture. The water passes through the pipe doesn't get richer. If chain native activity explodes, Metal matters. If growth happens in adjacent products, Metal becomes a sidecar while the company's story improves. And without a verified unlock schedule for foundation and legacy allocations, investors can't even model future supply pressure. Who drives this truck? Validators. Primary network requires 2,000 Metal minimum stake. At current prices, that's about $250. Low barrier. Not a whale gate, but also not a huge economic commitment to attack. The Metal Foundation can have up to 5 members. They operate validators, support development, and direct grants. Token holders can theoretically propose and vote, but governance participation data isn't published. No vote histories, no turnout metrics. This is a managed open system, not pure decentralization, not pure centralization. The foundation sits at the center with the keys, while the garage door stays open. For banking infrastructure, that might actually be the right design. Banks don't want pure chaos democracy. They want controlled reliability. Now, regulatory. And this is Metal's best card. Metallicus/MetalPay is a licensed money transmission business with NMLS registration. FedNow certified. The team published compliance-first messaging since day one. BSA ready. AML compliant posture. The broader U.S. regulatory tailwind, Genius Act, bank regulator guidance on tokenized securities all support this exact lane. But the concentration risk is real. This thesis is heavily U.S. banking and credit union focused. If U.S. regulatory sentiment reverses, the protocol still exists globally, but the main engine powering the story loses a cylinder. Competition, and this matters. Canton Network explicitly markets privacy-enabled blockchain for institutional finance, claims 600 validators and 15 million monthly transactions in 2025. Provenance claims 12 billion in on-chain financial asset value. And Avalanche IT offers institution-tailored L1s with permissioning and privacy. Metal's moat isn't code. Anybody can fork Avalanche. The moat is credit union distribution, compliance positioning, FedNow adjacency, and the integrated product stack. Relationships plus execution, not a magical protocol secret. Can big tech clone the architecture? In under 24 months. Can they clone the banking relationships and compliance muscle? That's harder. That's the real moat. 80% drawdown? The token is already down 91% from its all-time high of $1.65. The stress test already happened, and it's still happening. Minimum validator stake is 2,000 Metal. After an 80% drawdown from here, that's about $50. That does not scream fortress-level economic security. Volume collapse? Current volume is 500,000 a day, with 98% on one venue. A further collapse makes exits essentially impossible for any position over a few $1,000s. Incentives removed? This is where Metal has an edge. Credit unions and banks use the network for compliance sandbox testing. There are non-token reasons for institutions to stay: payments, settlement, audit trails. The freight network has cargo that isn't Metal tokens. That matters. But for public speculators, fewer reasons to stay loyal through a deep winter when the token might not capture the value even if the company thrives. Treasury Runway. If Metallicus stopped raising money tomorrow, how long could the project survive? We don't know. And that's the problem. No public treasury balance, no disclosed operating expenses, no burn rate. For an infrastructure play that needs years to convert pilots into production, Runway is the oxygen supply. And we can't measure the tank. The supply reporting mess compounds everything. In a bear, if investors can't trust the gauges, they don't park capital in the vehicle. Show me the Moo Law. Lulu walked up to this regulated freight rig, looked at the compliance logbook on the dashboard, and said, "I can't break into this thing, but I can count what's inside. If anyone can tell me how much is actually in here, the supply numbers don't agree." We covered that. So Lulu runs her math using CoinGecko's baseline because you need one consistent number. Price around 12 cents. Market cap about 64 million. Circulating about 510 million. Current market share about 0.003%. Tiny, even for a small cap. Let's run it to 20 trillion. Cruise control. Market grows. Metal holds its lane. Same share. Market cap about 600 million. Token price about $1.18. Roughly 9 times from here. All Metal has to do is not lose ground. Keep the pilots. Keep the lights on. Don't get smaller while the market gets bigger. Traction. Multiple credit unions move from pilot to production. Real recurring settlement volume. Supply reporting gets cleaned up. Market starts treating Metal as a legitimate banking rails play. 2 to 3 times current share. Price 237 to 355. 19 to 29 times from here. But this requires pilots becoming production. That transition has not happened yet. Full Moo. Metal becomes one of the default regulated tokenization and settlement rails for U.S. community finance. Deep liquidity. Clear token capture. 5 to 10 times current share. Price 592 to 1184. 48 to 96 times from here. Possible in physics. Not the base case. Lulu drew 3 asterisks next to this one. Black Swan. Market hits 20 trillion. But partner logos never turned into durable usage. Liquidity stayed shallow. Larger competitors took the regulated finance lane. Canton, Provenance, Avalanche itself all moved faster. Price stays flat or drifts lower. The market grew 10 times. The armored truck sat in the depot, engine idling, no cargo loaded. Lulu closes the clipboard. This rig is built for a job that actually needs doing. Compliance settlement rails, that's real. But when the dashboard can't agree on its own readings, I don't know what's under the hood. Fix the gauges, then we'll talk. Red flags, no mercy. 1. Supply accounting. We covered the details. 4 sources, 4 answers. Internal docs don't even agree with themselves. This is the number 1 issue. 2. Treasury opacity. No public balance, no runway, no monthly burn rate, no audited reporting. You can't call it disciplined if the market can't see the books. 3. No published security audit. CertiK says not available. For bank-grade infrastructure, that's a credibility gap. 4. Product and token sprawl. Metal, MTL, XPR, XMD, Metal L2, Metal X, Metal Pay, Metal Dollar. That's a lot of moving parts. Usage can grow across the ecosystem without Metal capturing the value. The fuel might be going to a different tank. 5. Public usage is thin, under 100,000 lifetime transactions after 3.5 years, 30 to 40 daily. The highway is open. 6. Liquidity is the weakest axle. $5,000 of depth on each side of the book. One venue carries 98% of volume. That's not an exit. That's a bottleneck. Now the honest positives. The problem Metal solves is real. Regulated institutions need programmable settlement infrastructure. That need isn't going away. It's accelerating. FedNow certification, NMLS licensed money transmission, BSA ready posture. This is the most compliance-forward project we've ever put on the lift. The team ships real code, real releases, real vulnerability disclosure with a 24-hour hotfix, grown-up behavior, hard cap supply with real burns, required token utility for gas and validation, clean tokenomics design, even if the reporting is a mess. Private subnets give banks exactly what they want: their own lane, their own rules, shared security. Survive the 2022 bear. Still here, still building. The vehicle took a hit on the highway, kept moving. And the macro tailwind, Genius Act, bank regulator guidance, FedNow expansion, all push traffic toward exactly the highway Metal built. Now, before anyone mortgages the credit union to buy 12-cent tokens, none of this is financial advice. Education and analysis only. And those numbers came from Lulu, head of technical analysis, incredible at her job. But Lulu is a pig, a real one. 4 hooves, a tail, a snout. She walked up to that Brinks truck, couldn't get past the security door, head-butted the armored plating, left a snout print on the bulletproof glass, then sat on the loading dock and ran every scenario from memory. Turns out, armored trucks are pig-proof, even for pigs with clipboards. So if you're taking financial advice from a farm animal who couldn't crack the security on a truck designed to keep out actual criminals, that one's on you. Now let's score it. Technology, 7.5. Real L0 chain, real multi-VM architecture, proven Snow consensus, active maintenance, but no public audit and unproven production benchmarks. Team, 7.5. Doxed veterans shipping real code, grown-up vulnerability handling, but company-led concentration is a dependency risk. Tokenomics, 4.5. Beautiful design, hard cap, real burns, required utility. But when 4 sources disagree on circulating supply, and even the project's own docs conflict, the fuel gauge is broken. Treasury, 3.5. Can't score what you can't see. No public balance, no runway, no burn rate. Real usage, 4.5. Live chain, real institutional pilots. But 30 to 40 daily transactions after 3.5 years is pilot smoke, not undeniable fire. Business model, 7.0. The company can plausibly bill real institutions, clear revenue path through compliance rails, and stablecoin infrastructure. But token capture is blurry when the ecosystem runs on XMD and XPR. Moat, 5.5. Credit union distribution and compliance positioning are real. But Canton and Provenance are already hauling heavier loads. And Avalanche itself plays this lane. Governance, 4.5. Open governance language with foundation-heavy reality. No published participation data. Community, 5.5. Real but niche. More corridor than cult. Institutional focus means small public footprint by design. Narrative fit, 8.0. Banking rails, stablecoins, tokenized deposits, compliance infrastructure. This is exactly where the macro wind is blowing in March 2026. Best narrative score we've given. Regulatory survivability, 7.0. Better position than almost any project we've reviewed. NMLS licensed, FedNow certified, BSA ready, but heavily US exposed. If the lane closes, big problem. Cycle resilience, 6.0. Survived the bear, still building, but the token is down 91% from ATH, and that's not recovered. Alpha potential, 7.0. Small cap plus real institutional angle can rip if pilots convert to production. But you pay for that optionality with illiquidity and messy disclosure. Total garage score, 6.1 out of 10. Showroom Build. This is not a 7, but it's the highest scoring showroom build we've done. The armored rig is real. The compliance credentials are real. FedNow certification is real. The team ships code and handles vulnerabilities like adults. But the supply reporting is broken. The Treasury is opaque. Public usage is thin. Liquidity is nearly non-existent. And the token might not capture the value even if the company succeeds, because the economics flow through XMD and XPR, not metal. 6.1 Showroom Build. Now, what changes the score? Clean up the supply reporting, reconcile the docs, publish a Treasury dashboard, get a public audit, convert one pilot to live production volume with verifiable on-chain settlement. Do that, and this truck moves from the showroom to the highway. Because the freight this vehicle was built to haul, compliant tokenized settlement is the single hottest cargo in crypto right now. Regulators are building the highway. The customers are real financial institutions. The policy tailwind is real. The question isn't whether the road exists. It does. The question is whether the dashboard works well enough for anyone to trust loading up. Fix the gauges, load the truck, then come back to the garage. Smash the like, hit the follow, and tell your cousin we found a project that's actually doing the thing Cardano's been promising. Banking license, FedNow certification, credit union pilots, and an armored truck that even Lulu couldn't break into. Tell him we said it with love, but the receipts are the receipts. Project you want on the lift? Drop it in the comments. We read them all. Check us out, gurucryptogarage.guru. Until next time, let it rip.